The legend himself, man, 1995 national champ, Coach Jim Harrick joins the show. Coach.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Man, Coach, I can't tell you, man, how blessed it is to have you, man. I grew up a huge fan, UCLA. I was born at the hospital there. My dad had me there. And then I was fortunate enough to play high school with Ed and Charles at Artesia. And so the stories I have are unbelievable because I was at practice all the time getting to watch you coach and then mentor young guys like Jim Lavin and other great recruiters coming underneath you. So it's an honor to have you on, Coach.
Good. Great to talk to you.
Hey, I'm on a former Bruin show quite often, Matt Barnes, and I know he came after you. He speaks highly of you, too. He played for Lavin, of course, on those great, talented teams. What do you think the biggest difference is right now between college hoops and when you coached and what is going on right now?
You know, it looks to me like sometimes the guys are a little bit bigger and faster and stronger, but the game's the same. I don't know that it's really the game has ever changed. And the players haven't changed. They still want to win. They still want to be well coached. They still want to be together. They still want to have fun. And they want to really work hard. They want you to treat them fairly. So I don't think it's changed. Now, money's come into it, so it's probably a little bit different now. But I don't see too much of the basketball game changed. The only thing is the three-point shot has made a tremendous difference in the game, and everything's pushed down from the NBA, from the professional ranks, and you know, in the NBA they don't have what we call help side ball side defense, which is you can put a guy in the key and keep him there. They got to get out of the key, so it makes the NBA be able to drive a little bit. High school and college basketball has always been a medium-range jump shooting game because you have help side, ball side defense, which means there'll be a guy in the key waiting on you when you drive. When the NBA, it's not in there. So the NBA has adopted a three-point shot, and now college is copying it. And I've always felt you live by it, you die by it. Now, if you can have an equal number of layups, medium-range jump shots, and three-point shots and equal those out, I think that's the best kind of thing because I've always felt you need to score in multiple ways. Layups, jump shots, 3 points, get to the foul line. And when you do all that, you're really hard to beat.
Coach, you mentioned money. NIL is a part of college basketball now. For the first time, there are some rumors that Ace Bailey and Cooper Flagg may both opt to come back to school. So what's your thoughts on NIL? And if that happens, does that silence some of the critics of NIL?
That will not, and that will not happen. I'm going to tell you why. Once this season's over, the agents, you know, when you leave your honey and jam open on your sink, and the ants come, thousands of them. That's what those agents will do. They'll come in there, they'll grab those two guys, and really, Cooper Flagg, he'll make probably close to $20 million next year if he's the first guy taken, counting all the shoot deals and sponsorships that he can get. And agents tell them, hey, young man, you got to hopefully and prayerfully a 15-year career, and that's it. So you better start making your money as quick as you can. They get you. The agents will get you. Now, I hope they would come back. I'm kind of a comeback guy, but I've had so much experience with these guys that the agents are really good at what they do. And when you turn your back 5 seconds, boy, they're all over these guys. So I think that is just what it is, a rumor.
No doubt. Coach, I got so many questions. It's crazy, but I got to ask you, there's a few specific games that stand out. So the UCLA year when you guys had Michigan down with the great Fab Five and Chris Webber and everybody, and Ed went for 19, I believe, in the first half, and they couldn't stop you guys, and you guys were up pretty big. That game, they came back and beat you guys in that tournament. What stood out about that game? Because I thought you guys had Michigan that game.
Well, we were up 19, and then the Loch Ness Monster, Chris Webber, he got hands bigger than you can ever imagine, came back. He's hard to stop, and he got him back in the game. They actually went up 8, but we pressed them and tied the score. And Eddie stole the ball and went down for a layup. If he had shot it, we'd have won the game, but he passed. That's a good point guard does. He passed it to Ed O'Bannon. Jimmy King knocked it out of bounds and got him in overtime, and they beat us in the overtime. And from that, I took the lesson to Tyus Edney in the Boise State game, the second game with 4.8 seconds to go. I told him, I put my arm around him, walked him out the half court. I said, Tyus, I want you to have a crystal clear understanding. I want you to shoot the ball. And right then, Ed O'Bannon walked by and said, get me the effing ball. And Tyus looked at me. I said, no, Tyus, I want you to shoot it. I learned that from that Fab Five game that we lost, to make sure, because there wasn't enough time to pass the ball. But yeah, that was a tough, boy, I tell you, to lose a game in the tournament is really, really difficult. And you put all your effort, and it's just like in the NFL, losing a game in the playoffs, college losing the play, and you spend all your whole year, everything you got, blood, sweat, tears, guts, and then you come down with a heartbreaking, heart-wrenching loss. I don't miss those kind of losses.
No doubt. But you learn, we all, as coaches, we learn from the losses, I guess, more than the wins. You, speaking of the Natty, when you go win it all and make that historic run, Tyus gets hurt, Cameron Dollar goes in. I remember it like yesterday, and I talked to Cameron to this day, doing a good job out here. But let me ask you, I've heard so many stories, and our great friend Craig had told me one that he asked you. So when you had that, Missouri was on fire that game. I tried to tell people, I said, if UCLA wins this, they're going to win it all, because they're getting tested in the second round by a Missouri team who seemingly couldn't miss a shot from the outside that game. And you guys managed to stay in that. Most teams would have got beat because that team just didn't miss. And Tyus goes to length and wins it. What did you tell him? What's the story? Because I've heard so many. What is when they all came to you as a coach and said, man, what are we going to do when Missouri hit that shot and took the lead? What was the message you gave them?
They turned and made the layup, and with 4.8 seconds left, 5 guys called timeout. And they all turned and they started walking towards me and burnt 10 eyeballs right through my head. And, I was driving down the street later that summer, and I said, hey, boy, that was a defining moment of my coaching career right there. You got to know what you're doing. Now, in 65, I saw Jerry West go the length of the floor in 3 seconds. So I used to have my high school team practice that, but I'd give them 4 seconds. I was coaching right there by the Forum at Morningside High School.
That's right.
And then I played a game once where a guy went the length of the floor in 5 seconds and threw it up and made it and got beat. So I learned from that. And then I learned from the Tyus Edney story and then I went to a pro camp, and I saw a coach give the guy the ball underneath the basket, and he turned, have to go the length of the floor. They gave him 6 seconds, and guys would go down there and kick it off their leg and run banana routes, and they'd get down there and miss the shot. And it's hard to do full speed.
No doubt.
But I had Tyus Edney. I said, Tyus, you do it. Zoop, boom, layup. Boop, layup. And guys would say, let me watch it. Boop, layup. He's like the road runner. So we practiced that once a week. So I knew with all those 4 things, they came over to me, and that's what I said. I told them what I wanted them to do. I said, Tyus, I want you to shoot the ball, take it to the rim. They won't foul you, and we'll see what happens. And a great player made a great play.
Coach, as we fast forward, Mick Cronin, interesting motivator. He's patted him on the back. He's hit him in the back of the head with a baseball bat. He's tried everything. But this is more a program question. 1995, last time UCLA men's basketball cut down the nets. 06, last time they even made the title game. Not necessarily this year's team specifically, but overall, what does UCLA have to do to get that program back to where they were at their height, competing for natties every year?
Well, this is very personal, and it's only an opinion. But I was a high school basketball coach for 9 years at Morningside High School, so I knew almost every coach in Southern California. We would meet, we'd have meetings, we'd play each other, summer league games, everything. So when I went to college, I used to write all those guys, and I'd say, hey, help me find the guys in your area. You ever play a guy that's really good, let me know. And I had a group of guys in every Orange County, San Fernando Valley, out in the Covina area, and
San Diego,
all over Southern California, that would help me. So I went to Pepperdine as a head coach, and I leaned on these guys. And went to Pepperdine, won the league 5 times in 9 years because these guys called me and helped me. Hey, you got to come look at this guy. You got to look at this guy. And I carried that on to UCLA. And I'm really very, very partial to Southern California. There's 660 high schools in Southern California you can drive to and be home at night and sleep in your own bed. And if you can't recruit that, so I made a deal with my assistant. I said, we build a fence around Southern California. And I remember Lute Olson telling his assistants, don't go in Southern California anymore. You can't get the top guys. So I wanted to recruit the top guys in Southern California. And I look around today, and they've still got them right here. And I believe that's the key, is keeping your guys at home. And you can't convince me that you can't, guys don't want to go to UCLA and get their parents to walk in Poly Pavilion and watch the one they love the most play. Are you kidding me? That can't happen. I do believe that.
Coach,
I don't really care about the money, because the money's going to come if you're good enough, son. And, to convince guys that do it now and get paid later instead of get paid now and get a little bit later, get a little bit now and a lot later. And I think you can do that. I think you can convince kids to come to UCLA. It's such an attraction.
I agree with you 100%. I've been saying it for a while, how USC football and UCLA basketball, even UCLA football, hell, should not be a powerhouse. When modern day kids and Bosco kids and all these talented kids here in LA are going to Alabama and Michigan and Ohio State, I'm like, we shouldn't be losing them. It just shouldn't happen.
There's enough for all of us.
Yeah, there's
enough for all of us.
There is. Coach, I got to ask you, I want to transition real quick. I appreciate you coming on here. The Rhode Island days, I followed you, obviously, and then you had a great squad there. I remember the tough loss against Stanford, I believe, and Mark Matson. You had you were up in that game. That team, you beat KU that year with Paul Pierce and them. I think they had a loaded team. You guys beat them and moved on. I remember that team vividly. And I was doing some big 3 work with Ice Cube and Catino Mobley is playing in that league. And you had Cat and Lamar and all these guys. How special was that run at Rhode Island, going to a smaller school from a place like UCLA?
Well, Lamar was on the bench. He didn't play it that year, but we had Cat, Catino Mobley, and Tyson Wheeler at the guards. We came within a bad call right there, a bad call. I hope you can see it. Guy still got the whistle lodged in his throat. He didn't make the call to take Rhode Island to the Final Four, but I had a magical year. Really had 2 magical years at Rhode Island. I had a great run there. The next year we had Lamar, and we went to tournament twice. It was a fantastic run. I love that place. And
then you went to Georgia and had a hell of a run there as well. Speaking of the talent pools, Georgia, for football wise, is loaded as it gets for a talent based rich area. I think South Carolina, Georgia, LA are the 3 per capita most talent rich states. But you went to Georgia and had a run there as well. When did you say, all right, enough is enough? This is it for me as a coach? Because I know my coaching days are done now, but you had such a ridiculous run. When did you say enough's enough finally? What was the call?
My wife and I left Charleston, West Virginia when I graduated from college, and left our parents and grandparents and cousins and everybody at home. So I made a rule. I had 3 sons. I made a rule. I said, hey, you guys aren't allowed to leave me. Get your job here in Southern California. You're born here, raised here. Now get your job here so we can all enjoy our life together.
No doubt.
And then I go to Rhode Island. And they just killed me, man. My sons killed me. And I went to Rhode Island and Georgia. We were gone 6 years, and now we're starting to have grandchildren. Well, Mama says, hey, she came up to me one time. She said, hey, I want to go home and see my grandchildren. And, I was 65, and I had a great run, just an absolutely marvelous run of 40 years in coaching. And I went home, and Kiki Vandewey, who his dad was my pediatrician for my children, and he played. I was on the assistant coach at UCLA when he played, and he called me. He was the general manager of the Denver Nuggets. He called me and said, hey, you're not quitting. You're coming to work for me. So I went and scouted for him for 3 years. And then the NBA called and said, hey, help us set up the development league. So I went and you got to take a team. So I took the Bakersfield Jam team for a year and a half. But the travel was just, I said, hey, I went in and told my boss, I said, hey, it's Christmas, and I had to leave Christmas Day and go. I said, hey, I'm done. And he said, what took you so long? The travel in that league was, and I'd been traveling my whole life. So I just had a marvelous run. It was, my journey in coaching is spectacular to me and very satisfying. I'm not frustrated. I enjoy my life. Got my granddaughter as a scholarship basketball player at Utah, and I've been watching her. And she's on today at 10:30 playing in the tournament down in South Carolina. I was supposed to go, but I went to the Kansas City and watched her at the Big 12 tournament, and I'm just, God, you get sick of traveling so much, and so I didn't want to go down there. But my journey in coaching has been absolutely spectacular.
Coach, congrats on a great career, and I'm glad you're enjoying retirement. I guess I'm going to pose this question like this. A lot of your former friends and peers are still in the rat race. Second day of the NCAA tournament, if I said, Coach, I'll give you 2 teams that are still left, and me and Coach JB get the rest of the field, what 2 teams would you take and why?
Florida and Auburn. I'll tell you why. The Southeastern Conference has 4 of the top 8 seeds. Mm-hmm. Now, they got Mississippi State, Georgia. They have 14 teams in the tournament. Now, every night when you go out to play in the Southeastern Conference, you better tie your shoes on tight, pal, because you got a battle. And when you play night after night after night after night in a battle, well, that's like an NCAA tournament game. So I think the Southeastern Conference teams are well tested. Now, last week, the best team I saw was Florida. The week before that, the best team I saw was Tennessee. But all year long, Auburn has been the most consistent team all year long, starting in Maui when they just blew everybody off the charts. So I would favor Florida and Auburn. I think they have the best teams right now. Now, I don't know about Duke and Cooper Flagg, how much he comes back and everything. Yeah, put that down. Duke's just a 4-letter word.
4-letter word.
I used to tell Krzyzewski that. I said, Mike, Duke's just a 4-letter word.
Hey, Coach, I was the only black kid in America rooting for Duke versus UNLV. I promise you that. I've been a Duke fan. Tommy Amaker, Johnny Dawkins, Billy King. Way back when we played both. I played
those guys when I was at Pepperdine. Ooh, were they good? They even had Jay Billis on there. Yep. I tell Jay, I don't know how you got on the court, man.
Hey, Coach, before I get you out of here, what is you? I had Coach Frank Martin on before you earlier this morning. We've had Coach Crimmins on this week, and Pat at Florida State. We've had some guys on since March Madness started. and we get to wrap it up with you, man. I can't thank you enough. I got to ask you real quick, what's your thought on the older guys, the Patinos at 70 and these guys hanging out with these young guys in this NIL transfer portal era holding their own?
I'm going to tell you, Rick Pitino has got Madison Square Garden rocking, Coach. I'm talking about rocking. He is the king of New York, and I'm going to tell you, nobody is going to outbid Rick Pitino. He got Wall Street and guys up there, and he going after dudes. And when I may say dude, he's old, but all he wants are old players too.
Yeah.
5th and 6th year guys. That's how you win. Pick your teams with older guys to in your draw in the NCAA tournament, because those are the guys that win.
No doubt. Hey, Coach, last thing. UCLA, we know the John Wooden and what you walked into there. And I don't know. I think a lot of coaches now shy away from the pressure of a place like UCLA. I don't know. I don't want to live up to 11 championships and all this stuff. How did you live up to that John Wooden pressure that, you replaced Walt Hazard and you replaced all these guys that came before you, and then after you, they haven't been able to get it done since? How hard of a job is it, A, and then how different of a coach you have to be, B, to take that job?
Well, I started coaching in '64, the first year John Wooden won his championship. And I watched that team. I said, oh, my, I want my teams to play like that. So I bought his book, went to every clinic, went to every practice. I studied him. I got a PhD in John Wooden.
No doubt.
And everything I do offensively is John Wooden. Everything I do defensively is Pete Newell. And that's the only two guys I've followed, and it's just worked for me. He went 28 years and it perfected a system. I thank the Lord every day for what I call the John Wooden system of basketball. Not the only way to play, just the best. And I did that and followed it, and I was his assistant. Gary Cunningham, who was his assistant for 10 years, I was his assistant at UCLA. And I really learned the system, and it worked for me. And it was really, really, really good. And I embraced John Wooden. I knew him. I was a director of the John Wooden basketball camps for 4 years. So we were great friends. So I embraced Coach. He'd come to every game, but he wouldn't come to practice because he thought he'd steal my thunder. But listen, if you're going to coach and you're afraid of the action, you better get your butt out.
No doubt.
If you don't want to reach the pinnacle of your profession, then I should have stayed at Pepperdine, which was the best job I ever had because I'm in Malibu every day. But anybody, I can't imagine a coach that doesn't want to coach at the highest level.
And the highest level, by the way, before we let you go, Coach, is that 4-letter word, DUKE. And if we are healthy,
UCLA.
If we are healthy, I don't anticipate us having a single-digit game throughout the tournament. We're just going to win every game by margin and sweep what people think is an elite field and be crowned one of the greatest basketball teams in history. I've already played this out in my mind.
Well, I'll tell you, guys don't play freshmen anymore unless you're freaks of nature like Cooper Flagg. And then KK's on that team too is really good. I've always felt you can win with one freshman, but two freshmen, whoo, boy, that's really, really hard.
And we start 3 because the big African kid is a freshman too.
And what happens with these 5th and 6th year seniors execute their offense so well, it's hard for them to navigate screens and things like that. So I would hesitate on that, but they've done it all year long, so I wouldn't doubt it. Cooper Flagg, he's a little different than most guys.
Hey, Coach, you had so much talent. You had a young Toby Bailey, Jelani McCoy, J.R. Henderson, and you sparingly played those guys as freshmen, huh? They were just more athletic wing guys.
Yeah, but I had J.R. Henderson and Toby Bailey, but also had Ed O'Bannon, Tyus Edney, and George Ziti, 3 seniors that that, you know, on the off nights that these freshmen have, because they're going to be up and down, off and on. See, Cooper Flag isn't like that. He's a freak of nature. Yeah, he's really good. And I just think freshmen are hot and cold, and they have cold spells, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Coach, I got to speak to Dick Vitale one day at Artesia High. You know, I played there. Wayne Marino was our coach. I know you remember Wayne and those guys recruiting Ed and Charles and all those guys. And Dick Vitale said Ed O'Bannon was the best high school player he ever saw. In high school, he was unbelievable, shooting threes, rebound. Where do you rank him as a player? And you had two great lefties, obviously, more than that. But L.O. and Ed, how high does Ed rank as far as one of your best players ever coached?
Well, he's tied for second with a few other guys, but Lamar Odom's the best guy ever coached. Coach, he was really good. Really good. He was kind of a genius. He could see plays happen in front of him.
Damn.
I've always wondered this. Did the Blue Bloods overlook Lamar? Like, is there a backstory to how he ended up?
Jim Harrick's the best recruiter in
Rhode
basketball,
Island?
man. Jim Harrick was the best recruiter in basketball, Shaun.
I'm talking in that part of the country, you're talking about when Villanova, St. John's, Georgetown, like all in their prime.
Well, there was a story behind that. I hadn't had a great relationship with Lamar, and he went to Vegas. And about August 1st, the NCAA called Vegas and said, we're going to investigate the recruiting of Lamar Odom. Well, they had just been through 10 years of messing with the NCAA. So anyway, he barred anything to do with the NCAA. So they announced that he wasn't admitted. And maybe I was the one coach he knew real well. So I get Lamar Odom on his phone call, not mine. I didn't spend 10 cents recruiting him. Where you spend all kinds of money recruiting other guys. He called me because it was August 1st. He didn't have anywhere to go. And luckily, Rhode Island admitted him. And I think we laid a great foundation for his future. He made over $100 million in NBA. So he got to get on his knees every day and thank Rhode Island for that.
No doubt, Coach. Man, it's been some great stuff, man. I can't thank you enough, Coach. You're a legend.
Great stuff, Coach.
And I wish you the best, you and the family and everybody, man. Enjoy the tournament. And you're a legend, man. Always will be held in UCLA lore, man. And appreciate you coming on here, man. I have to get you on again.
Well, you made me 3 minutes late for my tea time. But they'll wait on me. Thanks a lot, fellas.
Hey, enjoy, brother. I appreciate you, Coach.
All right. See you guys. See you both.